Hello everyone, before we start this video, I want to first of all tell you to go check out the Black Lives Matter links in the description. Please donate whatever you can, sign all of the petitions you can, attend protests. It's really important to get the word out there and also spread information. Also educate yourself, educate the people around you, share your opinions and what you have in your mind, and debate. It's really important to keep this movement going. I strongly encourage you to check out that information below. Hello everyone, today I'm going to give you 11 tips on applying to college for music. Hit the like button below if you enjoy seeing content like this. Hopefully there's lots more things that I could share my knowledge about with you all. So you want to go to college for music. It's about time for everybody to hopefully start their college applications and for all the musicians out there to start practicing your rep and preparing for those college auditions. Now I know the whole process is probably going to look quite different this year. I'm hopeful that these tips that I'm about to share with you are going to help you in your journey to go to school for music. Number one is learn where your abilities lie within the applicant pool for your major at all the schools that you're applying to. Now you may think, oh, isn't that the same as just comparing yourself to everybody else? It is like that in a way, but it's more of a realistic perspective on your playing and using that perspective to decide which schools you're going to apply to. What are your dream schools, your middle schools, your safe schools? Having that kind of perspective on your playing is really important in the college process because you know how high you need to shoot and how low you need to shoot in terms of your playing ability. So a really good way to do this is to go to national summer camps. I'm going to put lots of really great ones here on the screen that are some of the nation's best camps that you can go to. I personally went to very few national camps, and that resulted in my perspective of my own playing being a little bit skewed because I didn't really know what my playing was like compared to other people, and that made it more difficult for me to get a good college list that was more accurate to my level of playing. If you can, if you're a lot younger and you still have time, definitely apply to lots of summer programs every single year and try to keep going to different ones every year and get better and better. It's really important for you to learn what your perspective of your abilities are in comparison to all the other people that are also applying the same year as you for the same major as you. I personally went to the National Symphony Orchestra Summer Music Institute and the Interlochen Violin Institute last summer, and I highly recommend both of them. I think they're both great programs. Also, if you don't want to spend a bunch of money on national programs for classical music, there are actually several free programs that are worth looking into and possible to get into for sure. The National Symphony Orchestra Summer Music Institute is a free program for students ages 15 to 20, I think. And there's also NYO USA, NYO 2, there's several other ones. If you look at local camps, there are a lot more affordable opportunities too. And with all the really expensive camps out there are almost always opportunities to get scholarships so that you can attend those high-level camps without having to worry about breaking the bank. Number two is to pick pieces that highlight your strengths and also meet all of the requirements for all the schools that you're applying to. You probably know by now that there are certain strong points and weak points in your playing. You really want to show your best playing when you're out doing auditions. It's really crucial to pick pieces that really represent your playing very well. Over the course of your violin career, you may have picked pieces, or your teacher has picked pieces based on things that would challenge you and be difficult, and you still want to have some element of that in the pieces that you choose to audition for college with, but you also want to have certain parts that go well with your playing technically and musically. Every school has certain requirements for what pieces you can audition with, and some schools vary a lot from each other. It really depends on the level of the institution you're applying to and your own playing. Make a list of all the requirements for each school, and I'm also going to talk a little bit more in depth about that in a bit, and then compare all of the requirements and notice what things are repeated in the same. For violin and most string players, you're most likely going to see Bach partitas or suites as a recurring theme between most of your schools. Most schools also require a concerto of some type. They'll either say a standard concerto or a concerto from the 19th or 20th century. It's really important to also observe that. Be careful because some schools also require etudes and or pieces that were written in the late 20th century to early 21st century, and those could be extra requirements that pop up on you and you don't realize. Or some schools require like a Mozart concerto, or they require that your concerto selection must not be anything from the classical era. It's really important to make sure that your piece is 1, in the correct era for which the school is asking you, 2, is a part of the standard repertoire, and 3, is the right length or right movement for whichever you're learning. But also make sure that you pick pieces that you like playing. You're most likely going to be stuck playing these pieces for several months, 6 months to a year is my guess, and you're going to want to really learn to like these pieces and enjoy playing them because you're going to be playing them over and over and over over again. So don't pick a piece that you just hate the certain section of it, or it doesn't align with your playing ability or your personality. Really be sure of the pieces you select and understand that you will be playing those pieces for a long time. Make sure that those pieces also lie within your abilities from a technical standpoint. So for example, if you have really small hands and this piece has way too many tenths in it, you should probably avoid picking it because you're going to strain your hand a lot when you're practicing it. And even if you can do the tenths, you're most likely not going to be able to do it repeatedly a lot of times because you will strain your hand, and worst of all, you could injure yourself, so that you can avoid any kind of strain, tension, or injury. Number 3, and this is probably my most important tip. This has been the most helpful thing in college for me, and you may have already started doing something like this, but it is the number one thing that will help you get organized. You need to create a table within Google Docs. You're gonna have 6 different columns of different things that you need to be updating in this table. Number 1 is you need to have all the schools that you will be applying to in there. Number 2 is you need the pre-screen repertoire for every single school. Number 3, you need the live audition repertoire for every school. Number 4, you need the deadlines for all the pre-screens. Number 5, you need the dates for all the live auditions. And number 6, you need the scholarship deadlines. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. A lot of times, schools will have the same repertoire for pre-screen and live auditions, so just be aware of that. Some schools don't have pre-screen rounds, so you would only really need to put the live audition repertoire. Some schools have different pre-screen deadlines depending on whether you're applying early action or early decision or other factors into it for certain scholarships. So be sure that you also put different options for the deadlines if there are different options. With the live audition dates, you're most likely going to have several different options to put in there. So at first, just put in all the options that are offered, and then later on, you can whittle down those options and determine which dates you're going to each school. For the scholarship deadlines, I put this in there because it was something that I wish I had when I had made this sheet before. The scholarship deadlines are really important because a lot of them can be due a lot earlier than you think. For example, Vanderbilt. It was a really big school that I was applying to. I really wanted to go there, and I realized that I had already missed the scholarship deadlines because they were due December 1st. Now keep in mind, pre-screens were due January 1st. So the really big scholarship deadlines were actually before the pre-screen deadlines. So really make sure that you're aware of the scholarship deadlines so that you know when you need to start working on them, because they could be a lot earlier than you think. A lot of them are in late spring, but some of them could be in early spring or even late fall. Number 4 is that you should still be prioritizing essays, even if you're going to music. Of course, your audition is probably the most important thing of your entire application, but essays would probably come in a close second or third. The reason for that is if you just finished your audition and the audition committee is considering you and another person, and you're both very well matched musically, you play very similarly, and your ability level is very similar, then they're going to have to look at other aspects of your application to make a decision between who they want to take in. Now, this means that they're most likely going to look at your essays, which means they need to be good, they need to be thoughtful, they need to show your personality, and they need to be unique. So really put in time to those essays, get a lot of feedback for them so that you can keep improving on them. And also, start them early, please. I admit, I started a few of my essays the day that they were due. They were shorter essays, but that's not an excuse. If it's a short essay, if it's a long essay, just start it early, finish it early, and just be secure that you know that you wrote a good topic and it's unique and it's interesting and it shows your personality. Number 5 is to start recording your pre-screens in early November with your easier pieces, and then start doing the more difficult pieces throughout November. Now, the reason for this is because every time you do a recording session, you're most likely going to pick your first or second take from that session. If you take 50 takes, if you take 5 takes, you're most likely going to pick your first or second take. Now, when you only do one recording session, you're going to be cramming in all of your pieces into one session, and you can only do a few takes of each piece in order to allow time to do everything. So you may only get a few takes of each piece, and in case your first take or your second take is not good, or none of your takes are good, you have to stick with it because you have no other options. The deadline is tomorrow or something like that. You don't want to be stuck in that situation. So if you have multiple recording sessions across the month of November or even earlier, then you have multiple first or second takes that you can pick from. You'll have an inventory of different takes that you know are good and that you can choose from. You don't have to scramble the week before the December 1st deadline. This allows you to also not be under too much pressure compared to doing just one full session with all of your pieces. Also, do different sessions for different pieces. If you feel comfortable, you could do multiple pieces within the same session or multiple movements. Like doing 2 Bach movements within the same session seems like it would make sense, but it's easier to spread them out. The reason that you're most likely going to pick the first or the second take every time you record is because once you do the first and second take, you're going to start thinking a lot more about your playing, and you're going to start criticizing yourself and figuring out, oh, what can I do to be better? But the problem is when you're always thinking about what you can do to be better, your mind is processing too many things at once and you're likely to mess up. That's why it's better to do a few takes and do the first or second time, because your mind is not too focused on your playing and you can actually play by muscle memory rather than thinking about every move you make. Number 6 is you must know your audition music extremely well. You will really need to get used to running this music and running it really, really well, because nerves are so prevalent when you're doing these scary big auditions for this college that you want to end up going to. You need to really be sure of yourself and your playing in these pieces. One really great tip that I have heard from Nathan Cole: when you do a performance, your performance is most likely to be the average of the last 100 times that you played that piece. Now, if you think about it, 100 times is a lot, but that's how much dedication you need to put into a piece. You want your performance within that audition as best as it could possibly be. So you're probably going to be playing this piece several hundred times, and you want the last 100 times of playing that piece to be your best 100 times ever, so that when you go into that audition, the music is familiar and you're ready to play. Number 7 is that you need to strive to do your best in every single audition you take. Now, this may seem like a no-brainer, but when you are auditioning to several high-level schools, mid-level schools, low-level schools, it's tempting to blow off the low-level auditions because you know that you're going to get into those schools and it won't be difficult. But don't blow them off. Actually put in work into them, and here's why. When you get into a school, you're most likely going to get a certain amount of scholarship based on your audition. That means that how well you play in your audition is going to depend how much scholarship you get. So in the event that you are going to go to one of those lower level schools on your list, you want to be sure that you're getting as much scholarship as you can, especially if scholarships and financial aid are really, really important in your decision making. Prepare for most of your low level and mid level schools in a high level fashion. Prepare a lot for all of your auditions. That will set the stage for how much scholarship you will get musically. Number 8, there are plenty of online and institutional scholarships that you can definitely apply for if you'd like, but also look into those local scholarships that are for music or for other different things, because you're most likely going to get a local scholarship over some scholarship on a website that's really easy to do but that has thousands of people applying for it. I was actually pleasantly surprised by how many music scholarship auditions were offered in my area, and I ended up actually getting some music scholarship from this music club within our town. So definitely look into those scholarships. Ask around, ask your teachers, your orchestra directors, your band directors, everybody you can ask, and see what kind of scholarships are offered at the local level that you could bring to whatever institution you decide to attend. Number 9 is try to get lessons with teachers you want to study with at every single school. Most people do this in their live audition visits, but you could also do these earlier. The thing is that it's a little bit better to do it closer to your audition because they're most likely going to remember you. If you want to go the summer before your audition, that could certainly help too. During this pandemic, more and more college teachers are switching to online teaching, which is going to make it easier and easier for you to actually get lessons with these high-level college professors. Really go for it and get these online lessons with them, because this is probably one of the best times to do it. Number 10, when trying to get lessons, send your email asking for a lesson at least a month in advance. Teachers can get really, really busy during audition season, and most likely if you send them an email a week or 2 weeks before you want to have your lesson, they're most likely going to have a full schedule and they won't be able to accommodate for you. That being said, that doesn't apply to every school, but it's always best to be early to show that you're really interested in going into that school and that you are also courteous and you respect the teacher's time. Number 11, my last tip. A lot of the time, trial lessons are actually given for free because certain institutions require their teachers to give free trial lessons. Although sometimes you may have to pay for a lesson, you should always offer to pay if you can. If you don't want to ask for a teacher's fees directly in an email, you can always make sure to bring a checkbook and offer to pay. A lot of the time, the teacher will just say, no, it's free, it's a trial lesson, it's totally fine, and sometimes they will actually make you pay for the lesson. Anyways, that is my 11 tips to applying to college as a musician. I have so many more tips that I can share with you. Please let me know if you would like to hear more. I shared a lot of my story and information on Instagram under the college process highlights tab, so if you want, go follow my Instagram. I post videos on it almost every day. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe, look at all the links in my description for the Black Lives Matter information. Make sure you donate, sign petitions, and attend protests if you can. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.